What does it mean to be disingenuous? The definition of disingenuous is not candid or sincere. Over the course of the last 6 years, the internet has seen many dramatic shifts in faces, names, and trends that make up the platforms we love. However, one large and drastically virulent change has only been spoken of a little bit as of recent: audience entitlement. In fact, it actually stems even deeper. It's more of just straight up an entitlement issue. I want more of your art. I want more of your show. I want more of your music, face, TikTok, etc. Wanting something from an artist or creator you love isn't evil. Not inherently. I'm not saying don't watch or support your favorites, but the evil sets in at the point of digital strong arm. There seems to be a wide and majority felt opinion that the audience is in control. Quote unquote, the customer is always right. But that just simply isn't true. As a post-fast food retail employee, I can assure you that the customer is almost never right. And that has applied in grand to the whole of the social internet. Left and right, you see both audience and creator alike whine for more and more and more while doing either the bare minimum for content creation or literally not a shred of work to show for. Past that, you have the parasocials. People that cannot put down their phone. People who sit in chats and Discord for the entirety of the day and are 110% certain that their favorite influencer is coming to swoop them off their feet. Okay. Let me drag it back a bit. This is a little bit of a rant. So, hello, I'm Strax. I do stuff. But today, what I'm going to do is a little bit out of my usual warpath. When talking about streamer entitlement, I'll be ignoring the big guys today. The big guys. I don't even got to say them, the big guys. My example is actually from a direct interaction that I had either rightfully or not rightfully started. Here, we have Jovan. Jovan is a cozy streamer over on Twitch, and generally, I think I'd see dude in a good light. Until I saw this. Yeah, that's a take. Like, don't get me wrong, I hear what he's saying. Yes, they're not the streamer, and so, in a way, they shouldn't be focused on grabbing attention. However, in this specific circumstance, it almost seems like bro is mad that the mod had said or done something rude towards him in chat, which is a valid criticism. However, he then goes to say, y'all know you don't set the mood, right? Well, yes, Jovan, they don't set the mood. But I think that the main and critical role of the position is, upkeeping said mood. No. Perhaps, and I will say, I'm unsure what was said, but perhaps that was said or done rudely with a course-corrected mind. I mean, that's all I can say as a devil's advocate. I wasn't there, and I will admit I was not there, so I'm not sure what the direct context of what he's specifically talking about is about. However, I'm just saying, you posted it in vague terms, so I'm going to respond to what I see. And what I see is an entitled take. The rest of the post reads out, "You're not the lead, diva. You're the backup dancer." This right here is the meat and potatoes. Again, these are half-truths. They aren't the lead of the show, and you're damn right. And honestly, if they are wholeheartedly taking your shine, then it absolutely is an issue, considering it's your platform. But to akin the mods on either his team or the streamer in reference to nothing more than backup dancers is kind of wild and disrespectful. I'm not going to lie. Like, I think that is completely rude. I agree with the cover statement. I think that they aren't the show. Yes, they are not the streamer. They should not be putting on a big act and running the show. Correct. I do agree. However, to act as though they are ultimately just living stage props is kind of sick. That's like, I'm not going to lie, that's kind of sick. I feel like that is I feel like that's a terrible way to treat people who are helping guide your community into a place of growth. That's horrible. That being said, I understand. There is a bunch of power trippers. There is a bunch of trolls. There are a bunch of people who want the label just to have the label. Mind you, that is common everywhere. Like, I'm not trying to say that is just mods in streaming. That's mods in any sense. People who are administrators on games, people who are administrators on Reddit or threads on other social medias. Like, people tend to find positions of power and weasel their way into it. This is just the truth. However, we are talking about the standout, the average, the normal user, the normal mod. You know what I mean? Ultimately, mods in a majority of circumstances are involuntary and unpaid roles. They do this as goodwill. This is a goodwill statement for both the community and the streamer. And yes, of course, there are power tripping losers. We already talked about that. But it's important to remind yourself that the individuals that really do show out and try and help are the people that we're trying to talk about here. Maybe not categorizing an entire space of viewers as trolls and underwrites, because that's kind of insane. That's like, to me, that's kind of insane. It writes off the people who are really truly doing their job and really actually trying to help you or the streamer in question grow. So like, to kind of just label them as nothing more than bouncers is kind of weird, especially if you interact with them on a regular basis or play games, or if you guys are Discord friends, you know. And again, there's nuance to that. Depending on your situation, you may not be a friend with your mod. You may not be someone that goes and regularly talks with them. They may be strictly only that, just a moderator for your chat. However, to act as though that is it, they have no other role, they are just a glorified viewer, in my mind is just wrong. That is the point of separating the roles, that is the point of giving them power. They are not just a viewer at that point, they are a mod, they are an administrator in your community. Their goal is to help you uphold your guidelines. And so to see that the big moral fold here is like, well, you know, you're helping me do my job, but I kind of hate you for that, is kind of wild. I think that's kind of a ridiculous and entitled take. What makes you unable to be, you know, the focus? What makes you unable to be the problem? Perhaps maybe in this circumstance, which again, I know nothing of what brought Jovan to post this, but maybe in this circumstance he did something that caused, you know, a reasonable and snarky reaction, or just in general a snarky reaction. I don't know if that's necessarily unfounded, big boy. I think that's one of those things where, like, if you're doing something that's against TOS, you risk the you know, consequences coming your way. You risk the backlash coming from doing something that is out of character in this place. And so I'm having a hard time kind of understanding where he even, like, gets off saying that, like, you know, people are just glorified bouncers. You guys ain't nothing. You're just a diva. Which that blows me. That, like, I just cannot get that. I just cannot get it. Moving on. Usually, the individuals that really rock with the streamers, you know, really want to be involved for the sake of help, or involved for the sake of sense of community, you know, typically those people are standout mods. They're good people. They are people that whenever your regular concurrent viewer jumps in and they see that mod on for the night, they're like, oh shit, you know, chat's gonna be handled for tonight. I don't gotta worry about no crazy shit. Yeah, those are the people that you expect to help you when raids happen, or unwanted raids, or, like, you know, bad publicity of any kind. That is your, that's your quality control, dog. That makes sure that your interactions with chat are clean. That makes sure that your experience is clean, especially when it comes to, like, all the phrases that come out of the internet today. What if you said something that genuinely is not politically correct, or something that genuinely is harmful to a specific category of people? Well, maybe your mod team can recognize that before you do, you know, put that in the filter and go, hey, they can send you a DM and go, hey, do not say that. That is, we cannot say that. You're going to nuke it all, man. We cannot do that. In my mind, that's kind of part of the job. In my mind, it's important for, especially as you get larger as a streamer and you can't focus on all the specific nuances, I think it's very important to have people to remind you what you can and can't do and where your boundaries of reality lie. Otherwise, your head gets too big. And I mean, not to point names, but we're kind of seeing that in a few spaces right now. There's the one specific streamer I'm thinking of. Bro was cool. Bro was doing it right. Bro had a strong group of people around him, not even just as a mod team, but other creators as well. And now we're in a place where I'm not even sure if he works with those people. I think he definitely associates, and I think they are definitely friends, but based on, like, the recent few months, I think it's mostly just like, hey, this is what I think is cool. And, like, that is the goal to avoid. That right there, that sense of entitlement, that sense of self, that grandiose sense of self is supposed to be avoided. It's your community, and it is especially the quote-unquote leaders in your community that are supposed to help you with those things. They are supposed to go, hey, man, the way you talked to that chatter was, like, really fucking mean. Like, that's not how we talk to our chat. Or alternatively, maybe someone paid for a super chat or something, or someone paid for a dono and you don't see it. The mod is there to go, hey, man, they paid like $25 for this. I think it's kind of really important that you say, oh shit, my bad, let me get that read out. Boom. Wow. It's not just moderating your chat. If that's what you got set up between you and your mods, that's cool. But, like, I think to say expressly that they are bouncers is kind of just lame. I think it's a bad take. So, now that I've burned your ear to ash with Yap, let me share my response. It's pretty simple. Bad take. Mind you, I thought this was going to be the end of it. I thought I was going to move on with my day. So I get this comment in the nighttime by Mr. Neon Leon, which I will say, in an isolated view is actually an extremely strong point. Some mods do go too far, especially on a regular basis, which is more often than not just a power trip. A lot of these mods will go, well, I'm a mod, I'm doing my job, and that right there is the power trip. I cannot not agree with that. That is just the truth. There are plenty of bad apples. However, the whole part where it's like, if the streamer themselves doesn't have an issue with it, the mod needs to back off. That part is what gets me. Where does that line draw? And where, as a viewer, do you get to say that they're crossing the line? Especially if they are, quote unquote, not even really employees. They are volunteer workers under the streamer's umbrella. Who are you to say as a viewer that this is too much or too little? That should be something that should be far established outside of the realms of stream. Like, that should be a private call. That should be a private text. That should be a DM saying, hey, this is how we do it. If you can't do it, you're not fit for this. And I'm sorry if people disagree. That's just how it is, man. Like if you're not fit for a job, you're not fit for a job. We can't be kind to everybody. A good face, a strong face card only gets you so far. And that's important. You know what I mean? Like, it's important to have the skills for the things that you're trying to apply to. That being said, we're talking about moderating. I do not think it's that serious. Don't look at me as some Reddit mod going, oh, moderators are supposed to be respected. You must respect them. That's not what I'm saying. All I'm saying is that if they're going to help you and they're going to do a job that you don't want to do, that you know is difficult, maybe possibly they deserve just an ounce of respect. I think a shred of respect is reasonable. So I responded, nah, bad take. There's a strong sense of entitlement in the streaming community, but I think you all forget that it's just that, a community. If you have issue with these people taking your spotlight, maybe you should just do it yourself, or alternatively, don't have a mod team at all. Again, bad take. Which I will say, sleeping on it for a day, that in and of itself is a bad take. If you don't want to deal with the bad part of it, just don't do it. Which, that's kind of an old take in and of itself. I didn't mean it in the sense of like, well, then you should just do it all on your own and just quit bitching. That's not how I mean it. What I mean is, if that's genuinely a problem you have, where you have problems with mod interactions happening on stream, or maybe you're in a Discord call with your mods as you continue your stream, and they're starting to take the spotlight, maybe that's a place you shouldn't be. Maybe your mods should stay chat only. Maybe you shouldn't be in a call. Maybe you shouldn't give them access to your overlay. Maybe you shouldn't give them access to your desktop. Maybe possibly you should just stream. And I know that sounds crazy. Like, oh, I shouldn't let them interact. But that's not what you're doing. You are simply choosing where the interaction happens, and that's okay because it's your platform. But to act as though that barrier is just not there or cannot be put in place is completely ridiculous to me. It is it is a bad take. I'll be honest. My take, I give myself about a 45 correct, about a 55 wrong take here, because honestly, I think it is wrong to just tell people to just straight up not do things. That's not cool. However, I would like to make it known that there are multiple different ways to do things. I'm not saying, in that specific comment, I was saying just don't do it. What I should have said was there are multiple other ways that you could go about this problem. And ultimately, that is what I meant, and I should have said it that way. But it is, it's multifaceted. You don't have to approach this issue in one way or one method or one path. You have multiple different ways that you can handle it. And so to subscribe to the idea that the journey can only be completed through this one method is kind of ridiculous. That being said, though, I'm going to play devil's advocate on both sides. I don't want to rip apart this guy's side and not have any faults of my own. Because looking back through this, I have been a little bit amped. This definitely hit me in a place of like, wow, what the fuck? But like, yeah, no, I think my take is definitely like a 45-55 good bad. I think what I'm saying is partially true, but could have definitely been worded better. But my main point does stand. I think that there are multiple routes that you can take, and I think that there are multiple ways that you can approach a situation. And if you truly don't like how that situation is treating you, or you're being approached by it, maybe it's possibly time for you to reevaluate how you do such. But I thought it was over. I'll be 100% honest. After I responded with that, I thought it was all over. A little time had passed over the day, and I thought it was cool. Well, no, it was not cool. Somehow, Jovan made his way back onto my For You page. And let's be honest, it's not somehow, it's just algorithmic bullshit. But he made his way back onto my page, and now, instead of just a singular photo post, it's a 2-minute long rant post. And I'm like, man, Oh boy, what did Mr. Jovan have to say this time?
So clearly my last video ruffled a few feathers, and I just have to say, if you're upset in some kind of way, you really need to reflect on why you're upset because you might learn something.
I'd like you to hold on to that self-reflection statement for me. That is, yeah. Anyways, back to it.
But more importantly, I find it so funny how people didn't realize how hypocritical they were being in the comments, with a lot of people trying to mansplain to me that I might have misread the situation somehow.
Okay, pause one more time, which, sorry to keep doing this, but get used to it. I have like 20 more of these points to go. I've looked through the comments on both posts, and there's no hypocrisy or mansplaining in either section. So, I'm confused on that one. In fact, one of the longest responses that you engaged with was literally written by a woman, and so, like, yeah, I don't... Anyways, top of the barrel, let's keep going.
Mind you, I was there. I experienced it. Y'all got like half the details at best, so to have the audacity to try and mansplain that to me is insane.
Okay, so now we're interesting. This is an interesting quote to me. Y'all got half the details at best. To have the audacity to try and mansplain that to me is insane. Home slice, big dog, pow, bud, brochacho. You're right. We only see half. Your half. The half you publicly posted to the internet and then put a really entitled caption over. You're not wrong. Only those who were there know the true breakdown of events. But if that's truly the case, come with some receipts, man. Like if you really truly feel that way, show us. Grab the VOD. If it happened in your stream between you and your mod, grab the VOD. If it happened in another person's stream, go back in their 7-day log and grab the VOD and break down the clip and bring it to us and go, hey, this was fucked up. You guys have taken this way out of proportion. I shouldn't have even had to do this in the first place. And at that point, we can all collectively go, dang, you know what, Jovan, I'm so sorry we even said any of this. But, like, as it stands, I don't have any proof. I don't have anything that says, yeah, this firmly happened. I'm confused. I'm going to let it go, but I'm confused on the mansplaining thing because, like, I get it. It's a buzzword nowadays. Like, it really is a thing. There really are men out there who, like, really, really firmly believe that their masculine take is the way. However, in this specific circumstance, I don't know if this can be considered mansplaining. I think this is just being buzzwordy to be buzzwordy. But well, let's continue.
But also to explain that mods are vibe checkers and everything without realizing they're part of the vibe.
See, this take is very complex. This is not an easy one because it depends on how the streamer utilizes their mod team. I'll be real. Most mods aren't in there as a normal viewer. They are viewing, yes, but they are not in there like a majority of the watchers who just watch. You know, in fact, they actually moderate. You know, they moderate the chat that they've been either asking to be a moderator for or were asked to. So outside of just viewing, outside of just enjoying the viewership and trying to engage with the stream and make some comments, you know, they're sitting there filtering comments and engaging with the streamer and engaging with chat and sending out links and doing all this other stuff. I feel like that's more than just viewing. I don't think that's just akin to just being a viewer. Now, that being said, I think that the distinction of hierarchy is ridiculous. I think it is, I think the fact that the hierarchy matters so much is stupid. However, to say that there shouldn't be one or that there isn't one is just not true. In my mind, you know, we'll break it down to simple categories. I see it like this: viewer, mod, streamer. And the reason I say that is because the mod is the in-between. They have a little bit of power. They have some of the stuff that the streamer can do to help moderate the chat. That is not the same as a viewer. A viewer cannot just come in and time somebody out or ban somebody or go and, you know, send them a fucking link to the fucking Discord. Like, those things are set specifically for certain people for a reason. And so that distinction right there already breaks them out of the category of just a viewer. At that point, you're not just a viewer, you're moderating, you're doing a job as an administrator. So that one I gotta draw off the board. However, let me put a caveat on this actually before I move on. I think it is also massively important to realize that it is dependent on situation to situation. Some moderators are just that. They are just glorified viewers. Some moderators are literally the enforcement team, like fucking Black Ops Bravo 6 team. Like, they're ready to move in, dog. It depends. I think it takes just a bit more priority than a viewer in terms of ranks. But I would say... Actually, hold on. Let me let him say his half. There's still another half. I cut him off.
So if your vibe check comes with some shitty behavior, you're just disrupting the vibe some more?
Okay, no. So I'm gonna flat out and say no. I'm just gonna flat out say no. Sometimes bad behavior requires a forceful correction. It's just how it is, man. Sometimes that forceful correction will cause some parties to not feel good. That is just part of conflict. Unfortunately, that is just part of conflict. If you make me feel bad and I tell you it makes me feel bad and that makes you feel bad, that is just how it went. If you feel bad that you made me feel bad, now we're both feeling bad. That is just how it is. There is nobody who is specifically at fault, aside from the action that caused the feelings, of course. But let's not play coy. But what I'm what I'm talking about is like to correct that. Some of those feelings have to be felt. One party has to go, "Hey, you're my friend, but you hurt me," and the other friend has to go, "Wow, I'm so sorry I hurt your feelings." They're not invalid for being upset that they hurt their friend. You can be upset with yourself that you hurt your friend. However, that hard part of the conversation still has to happen. Just because you hurt your friend's feelings by telling him that he hurt yours does not make either of you invalid. You are both allowed to feel upset. You both have a reason to feel upset. In a situation like this, especially, not every course correction is going to end up well. There are people who are going to take this as a direct attack. There are people who are going to take this as a like a standout fucking like martyrdom, where it's like they're being chosen and used as a tool for change. But like the fact of the matter is, people do not understand that they are not special. And so in certain situations like these, where a moderator goes and says something or reprimands somebody and they take severe offense to it, they're like, why is it just me? A majority of the time, it's not just you, dog. Like, there's a specific level of courtesy that has to be kept up amongst all viewers. Especially, say we're talking in a realm of 100 plus viewers, that's 100, like, literal individual faces that you have to account for and the feelings for. And so it's not that simple. It's not easy to always go, yeah, I know this is going to make him feel bad, so I don't want to do that. Sometimes the things that have to be done do make people feel bad. That's just part of it. Sometimes the hard conversations have to happen. Sometimes things have to be said in a specific way. Sometimes things cannot be sugarcoated. Sometimes learning has to be expressed. And I think the fact that you expect people to just be so soft is kind of wrong. Like that is the point of a moderator. That is the point of somebody who is seen as an authoritative power, is they need power. It's not necessarily expressly to be lived upon, but it is important to recognize said power and actually follow it. Otherwise, there is no point in giving any of these people any rank. There is no point in saying that I am better than ye and ye are better than ye and so on. Like it's literally not possible. It's literally not possible, because at that point everyone is everyone. If we all share the same goal and we all share the same capability, what makes us special? And so yeah, that immediately kills me. Like the whole like, well, like, you don't always got to be forceful. No, you do. Sometimes you do. Sometimes you do have to be mean. Sometimes you do have to be rude. Sometimes you do have to be express, especially in situations where these people are already returning a negative sentiment. Sometimes you have to just straight up cut the shit off and say, hey, I don't really care how you feel. You broke the rules. And so, like, no, no. Like, if a person comes into your stream actively causing grief and being an issue, sometimes a ban or kick sometimes leads to worse, man. Like, spite is a real thing, and the internet makes people feral. Like, I'm like feral when they feel wronged. Combine the two and you get a slew of issues, like alts, bots, spam, threats, hate, raids, specifically bad raids. We're not talking, oh my gosh, my viewer count's going up, you guys are so kind. I'm talking like hate raids. I'm talking about like spamming frog in the chat, looking at you XQC people. I don't like you guys. Well, anyways though, like that whole thing happens. That is part of the internet. That is the unfortunately, that's part of the negative cycle, where something happens, it causes someone to feel some sort of way, they react in some sort of way, and that expands further, just like every other interaction in the world. Some of these problems, specifically, namely, like the alts and spam and threats, like some of those kind of fall off as soon as you start showing that force. Whenever you kind of put on a mean face and scare these bad actors away, it makes it easier to set an example and go, this is what we want in our community. This is what we don't want in our community. And so No, not every interaction like that's gonna be cool. Sometimes you're gonna ban somebody and they're gonna go freak out and say, you know what? I don't like your Minecraft house. I want it gone. Obviously, to anyone with any common sense, we know where the threat lies there. But like, fucking, yeah, dude, that's not reasonable. That is not a reasonable response to getting reprimanded. And so like, sometimes whenever that response comes out, in fact, I would be willing to venture to say all the time in this specific scenario, that's a perma ban, bro. Like that's not a you don't get the luxury of coming back in a week and saying I'm sorry. Dude, you just threatened me in the real world. You just took it off the internet to threaten me. No, no. Now it's gone from an escalation of 1 to like an escalation of 5. You got to get the fuck out of here, dog. Like we cannot have you around here. And that is reasonable. That right there, that level of doorkeeping is reasonable because that keeps things fair. That keeps things like there is a level of toxicity in every place, and I am aware of that. But like that right there, that one specific circumstance is a great example of how a show of force can sometimes fix those actions. And just the same as any other sword, there is a second side to this. You could go and do that, and you could do that permaban, and they could show up at your fucking house 3 states away. Yes, that is the truth. However, it is important to express that a majority of circumstances do not go that way. It is important to remember that this show of force does get these people to leave. Whenever you don't fold, whenever you don't go, man, I just hate these trolls, they're ruining my life, and you just have your mods silently get rid of them, they don't win. They don't feel anything. They don't feel good. There is no victory because they're not getting a rise out of you. They're not getting a response. They're not getting a clip. So, yes, but no. Yes, but no. Like, the silent show of force is fine. And the verbal show of force is fine. Sometimes a show of force is fine. I can't even believe that we're talking about this in terms of moderation. Like, the fact that I have to use the term show of force and moderator in the same sentence when regarding Twitch is insane to me. And I get it. Not every reprimand can be a please and thank you. Or at least a please and thank you type ask. It's just not the case, especially when you start to look at repeat or extreme offenses. You know, some issues have to be cut at the neck. And sadly, kindness is not a good knife. I don't see that as a disruption unless it truly is. Like the whole stream gets, interrupted due to drama or maybe the reaction to reprimand escaping Twitch. Like those are serious. You know, if the streamer has to pause his stream and he's got something going on or he's doing a sponsored event or some shit like that, and they have to pause the stream and name you and go, hey, you're a nuisance, leave. That's a problem. That's a real issue. And so, like, fair, we want to avoid that. Or alternatively, what we were talking about earlier, it escaping the bounds of Twitch and becoming real drama and becoming, like, basically just fucking cyber assault across the internet. That's also not cool. That is also not cool. But those are true disruptions. Those are things that have to be handled, and that requires, more often than not, again, the show of force that we were just talking about. However, like, I think that take in and of itself screams to me that you didn't like how you were being treated, and that you were also the target of said issue, which begs me to question what the problem even was to begin with. We moving on.
At the end of the day, I just think it's neurotypical nonsense in this belief of a social hierarchy.
Not even going to go there. As a diagnosed individual, I'm not even going to go there. But the second half of that, oh, buddy, there is a hierarchy, period. That is just a sociable fact of really any social interaction in the slightest. The pyramid is very small in this one, but it scales high. Just because the pyramid itself is tiny does not mean it's segmented in big chunks. You know what I mean? So, like, if you don't see that, I just... My only recommendation would literally just be go and interact with anyone else in the streaming space. Because, like, I really think that you've missed that. I think that that is a normal and common thing.
And thinking that mods are so much better than other viewers, so they get to dictate the rules and blah, blah, blah.
Well, because A, they're not just a viewer at that point. You know, I mean, like, they're literally a mod. And B, they don't dictate. They enforce. That is a correct take. However, many streamers and mod teams work as a unit, like I said earlier, and that helps to, kind of inform and drive the streamer to a safe ground socially, like I said earlier. Like, I could sit here and hammer my points home again, but, like, it all kind of ties back into the same place, where it's like, this is a community. It is not just as simple as, like, no, they're just a viewer. Like, bro, you you gave them a position with a label. Like, that's not it ends there. Like that's where that begins and ends. Is you gave them a label, and so they are something else other than just the regular layman. However, you're mostly right. In a vast majority of examples, the mods are guideline enforcers, and I will agree with that. I firmly do understand that. In a majority of cases, that is all a mod is. However, some teams work as coordinated units. Some teams work together to handle these things, and so much so that they do it pretty effectively, in my opinion. The whole Papa Meat team is a team. You know what I mean? Like the whole Meat Canyon group is not just Hunter, not just the guy that draws the comics. It's everyone else. It's Nick, his friend, and oh fuck, I feel so bad. I can't remember any of the other guys. There's so many other guys on the cast that do so much other stuff, and they all have each individual places. Do you think that just falls out the window whenever he gets on live and plays the Oregon Trail? Do you think that just stops? Do you think literally, if a good example is Nick is off cam the entire time helping guide things and reading out super chats and he is literally the physical manifestation in person of what a mod would be doing digitally. So it's I don't know. There's good ways to do these things. There are hyper effective ways to do these things, and to act as though the majority is the only way is kind of ridiculous. Let's move on.
Y'all, that's crazy because not only is that a shitty mod, but that's a disingenuous streamer. If they're sending their mod to go do the dirty work, they should never be making the mod the villain. They are enforcers at best for what the streamer is saying.
Shitty mod, disingenuous streamer combo is wild. You okay, hold on. Let me quote this. Let me put this in my own paraphrased quotes. You're a bad mod for doing the job of the mod, and the streamer is no better because they didn't get down and dirty themselves. Oh man, we are so lucky that is not the actual quote. I'm glad I'm paraphrasing, and I'll be raw, I'll be raw. It is a paraphrase, but ooh, that shit's insane to me, dog. That shit's insane to me. I don't know how to explain to you, but this is literally the job. That is literally the job that the role comes with. The streamer sets the rules, the streamer sets the guidelines, the viewer breaks those guidelines and or rules, the mod enforces the rules, the cycle continues. That is it. Yeah, I don't think the streamer is supposed to sit at every junction and go, man, you suck. Hey, you can't say that. Hey, you can't do this. Hey, that's rude. Hey, you can't say that. That's against my rules. I don't think that's their job. I think that's the job of the moderator, to moderate said community. And so, to kind of throw that in the face of both the streamer and the mod is kind of insane. That acts as though the streamer is just some sort of mob boss. Yeah, go whack him. That's not what's happening here. That's they're literally putting on a show. It's 2 to 4 hours of direct and live entertainment. Maybe possibly it's cool to not stop every 5 minutes to handle something. Maybe. I feel like I can stay much more invested when I get to watch the streamer play for 30 to 40 minutes straight rather than every 5 minutes he has to stop and break down about how some dude in chat is just absolutely treating him horrendously. That doesn't have to happen. Those people just don't even have to be there if the moderator goes, yeah, that's not cool. That very clearly breaks our rules. And then they time him out, they ban him, they kick him. That is the solution. That is literally the point of that position is so you can mitigate some of that work into a lower category. It can be broken down into multiple people's plate instead of just one. And now things are moving smooth. Now you got smooth cruising, dog. There's nothing wrong with that. If anything, I think what you're saying is quite the opposite. I think it is a good and in fact genuine thing to have your mod enforce your rules. I think that it avoids direct confrontation. I think it is actually no. I think enforcing rules on their behalf is a massive way to avoid PR nightmares. Sometimes it's just not to be said on camera. Some things are just not to be hashed out on camera. Sometimes a situation needs to happen and it needs to be brought back to the bullpen. It needs to be handled outside of that. And so that direct confrontation being not there is kind of a big deal. I think think that's a really, really big deal. Because, like, that allows the streamer to continue doing their job without having to break character. Like, that's, again, pretty big if you're looking for consistency and trying to build a career as a public face using your face. Anyways, though, let's continue.
If you're not checking in with the streamer to see what the vibe is, then you're not a good mod.
No. You don't need to check in to know bad behavior is bad behavior. No exception should be made. You break a rule, you pay the price. That isn't rude, that isn't toxic. If anything, it's the fault of the person in reprimand for having broken said rules. Continuing.
And it truly does hurt not only the streamer but the community at large if you are not following the streamer's lead.
It really does not. Example 1, High-Vise and Jinxie. I know neither of them individually. I can assure you that. I really don't. But I can also assure you that if you take about 5 minutes on YouTube, you'll find probably, I don't know, hundreds of clips, 50 videos that all show clips on clips on clips on clips of High-Vise trolling and being an active part of the content. You know what I mean? I need to express, this is not like baby trolling. Like it's like changing the proportion of his stream and modifying the audio output and like complete control over his desktop and stuff like that. Real interactions and real obstructions to the stream. How does that get responded to? Tell me how those clips have been seen. So no, I don't think it's about falling in line all pretty and nice all the time. Sometimes that bond between a long-term mod and streamer can build the community and actually help grow engagement. Sometimes, possibly, that little, relationship between the two can often play out into a fun and enjoyable scenario for both the streamer and the mod, and by extension, the viewer themselves, because now it's more content to engage with. Moving on.
If the streamer cannot make it known that they are being made to feel uncomfortable, then that's a bad streamer. They need to set the vibe. They are literally a community leader. And so to the streamers that were upset, you really need to learn to handle your own shit, but also to handle discomfort and to learn to have like actual good communication, because that's kind of half your job.
To act as though communication is only half of a completely socially reliant career is kind of insane to me. Like face card only gets you so far, but whatever. I mean, I would think the other half is having, a decent set, a decent level of entertainment to provide to your people. But sure, yeah. Face card, yeah. Face card!
To the mods that were upset, you need to come off your power trip and also understand that there are better ways to handle that kind of situation.
I didn't see any mods in your comments aside from one, bro, but yeah, you got it.
And to everybody involved, we need to have kinder communication, not only in these comments alone, but also in general, because if you think that a snarky response is any sort of proper way of handling a community issue, then you've completely lost the plot.
Man, this one is truly the cherry on top, isn't it? We need to practice open-minded communication. We need to practice open-minded communication, even though you have been deleting comments that get more engagement or have a strong take against yours. Interesting take, big dog. Interesting take. Especially the kindness part. Half of your comments are completely dismissive. Wild. Real quick, before I hit my closing statement, I'd like to talk about something Jovan said. Jovan said, disingenuous streamers, in quotes. He said that as if using a mod team makes you such. But I'd like to point out Jovan's own hypocrisy in all of this. I showed my first comments from the first video, but I haven't covered my second set. Why is that, you ask? Well, Mr. Jovan here wanted to take his own disingenuous route and delete my comment. Specifically, my second comment on the video. Let me pop the first one up right here. I'll talk about that in a second. But I'm talking namely the second comment, which is a reply to his reply to my first comment. Thankfully, my Epic Future site kicked in and told me to screen cap and download all of this stuff before making this video. So, to Jovan, you were too late, bro. Anyways, my comment on the second video was this. Literally even worse take than before. You say reflect if you're mad, but I promise you want to sleep on this post and think it over again. Mind you, I stand on this. Mind you, I still wholeheartedly stand on that statement. I really think he should have just slept on this and took the post down and then not have continued. However, that is not the response I got. Shit, let's oh. So Jovan says, in quotes, "Nuh-uh, trust me, bro." Like, what? What is your argument? What are your credentials? You're literally just some random troll right now. Okay, well, so I'm not trolling, and I don't need credentials to be right. I don't need a verified badge to prove to you that this is a bad take. I don't need a verified stamp to say that this is out of touch and entitled, and you look like Icarus. Like, standing here on the ground, I'm watching you fly towards the sun as your wings melt. And I just laugh. I just laugh because, like, no, you're wrong. I don't need to be somebody to know that this is a bad take. Unfortunately, that right there kind of brings us into your mindset in and of itself, which kind of sucks, dog. Like, that's a bad way to think, man. So, you know, standing here on the ground, I had the realization that, you know, our worlds are far separate. At least the world of fact that I live in, the entitled pedestal Javon lives upon. It seems different to me, at least. I don't need a blue mark. I don't need no verified stamp or badge to say that, you know, I feel as though you've been rude and entitled. I also don't need a blue mark to show the world the comment you deleted. So here's that as well. My response was, bro, you have wholeheartedly lost the plot. Not once did I give or deny any evidence or even say that I had a direct opinion on the specific circumstances that brought you to make that post. I said that your take is entitled, which I entirely stand by. If you are a streamer, I'd highly recommend considering how contradicting, condescending, and outright entitled you sound by entirely writing off a portion, whether small or large, of your community as doorkeepers, when you simultaneously imply that they are no better than your average viewer. Unless it's a paid position, it's a voluntary position, which deserves a modicum of respect. I don't think you should bend knee or let them talk against you in an actively hostile or non-engaging way. However, to liken people helping moderate and upkeep the guidelines you set in your community to nothing more than bouncers is for shame. The same thing that you've implied us to do in this video, I implore you to do yourself. Critically think about your opinion. And again, I stand by this. As I did in the comment, I asked you one more time, Jovan, please do some critical thinking. Just as you claimed it would benefit us, I think it would greatly benefit you just the same. I want to expressly remind anyone who watches this, do not continue the cycle of toxicity. This guy is his own. He feels his own. He's got his own opinion, just the same as you and every other person on this planet, and so leave him be. Unless you intend to go over and show support and be a follower and do something good out of the good of your heart, leave this man be. Do not go out of your way to cause problems. Do not go out of your way to cause more negativity that is just completely unnecessary. This is how I felt. This is my feelings. This is my thought. This is my thesis. And if you agree, that's cool. If you don't agree, that's also cool. I would love to know your feelings in the comments. I got a few more things to say. So I'm going to toss this over to Outro Strax. And I'm going to let you guys sit and simmer with what I'm talking about. If you agree, again, throw it down in the comments. If you disagree, throw it down in the comments. If you absolutely despise this video, just report it and throw it into the fucking ground. I don't even care. But please try and employ yourself to do some critical thinking. Use this specific circumstance to reflect upon yourself and wonder, where do you lie? Where along the spectrum are you? Are you a watcher? Are you a moderator? Are you a creator? Are you an influencer of any kind? What is your position and where do you lie on these ideas? And if they make sense to you, let us know. Let us know, let the world know, man. Let us know. If they don't make sense, let us know, man. Let us know. I want to know. If you think I'm stupid, me too. But anyways, fucking, yeah, that's all I got, man. If you're entitled and you came here expecting me to validate your entitlement, I'm sorry, but I am quite the disappointing son. So, anyways, I've been Strax. I really hope that this can enlighten you in some sort of way. And Jovan, if you're watching this, I don't dislike you, bro. I don't hate you. I have nothing against you. In fact, I am a fellow, like, on the fringe person. I've got my own diagnoses, and I fall into my own categories. However, I think it is important. I think it is important to recognize poor behavior. I think it is important to recognize entitled takes. And I think it's important to grow from these things, especially when we're called out with critical critique. I think these things are important. I've been Strax. I hope you enjoy this video, and I'll catch y'all later. Also, my next upload will not be this serious, like, at all. Like, or at least I don't think it will be, but, like, this really struck a nerve for me. So, like, even before I sat down to record or, like, make a comment on the TikTok, I was like, man, this fucking sucks. But, like, yeah, maybe maybe my next video will be better. Maybe it'll be more fun stuff. I don't know. But don't be entitled, people. It makes your life suck. Have a good one.